Today's video is brought to you by PCB Way, where not only can you get your custom PCBs made, but you can also do sheet metal fabrication, CNC machining, 3D printing with all sorts of exotic materials, and a whole lot more. Check them out in the link in the description. Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Patrick with Stacking Layers. In a previous video, I had shown how to set up the Bigtreetech Pi2, and in that video, I talked about how these things are very capable Linux computers, so you don't have to be locked to using them for 3D printing only. You can do all sorts of other stuff with them. And in that rant, I had mentioned that I want to install Home Assistant. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to get it done. I will say right off the bat, I almost dropped the project because I ran into so many brick walls, but I figured it all out. So we're going to get that done. All right. So let's get into it. First things first, Home Assistant. What is it? This here is my dashboard. It's not very pretty at the moment because I'm still learning how to customize it and make it look good. But in a very, very simplified nutshell, because it just doesn't give it justice, what Home Assistant is basically a full-on customizable home automation environment or system. It allows you to create and design your own home automation system. And it's really great, very powerful. And I'm talking about it's so powerful that you can pretty much integrate anything that has the capability of sending and receiving information, or even just sending, not receiving. For instance, I have here a weather station that I didn't even know was capable of doing this. It would wirelessly attach to a screen in my house. But lo and behold, I was able to connect it to Home Assistant, and now I have it in here. And you may think, okay, well, you already have it on a screen, big deal, right? Well, what's cool about Home Assistant is that any type of information that it gets, anything where it can see a state change, it can be used as a sensor to trigger an automation. Or you can use it, like these are giving out like values of things, right? So you can use those to send values to other things also. So as an example, with my weather station here, I have my Google Home speaker attached also, of course, because it's integratable. And so now instead of getting a basic weather report when I ask Google what's the weather outside or what the temperature, it now will tell me the true live temperature based on a sensor that's outside of my house. So it is as exact as it can be. And then there's lots of other integrations that you can do. Like for instance, there's ESP Home, which is a system that allows you to program ESP32 and ESP8266 chips. So if you've seen this short that I recently posted, I made a clock for my son. Well, not only is it just a clock with weather on it, but it also allows me to send him messages with this little drop-down box. And so it'll flicker the lights in his room when I send one of these messages, and then scroll the message across his clock. So it's really cool. So lots of stuff. And when I talk about that you can do anything with it, I'm not joking. I mean, these are the integrations. These are the official integrations. I say that because there's also a community-driven integrations that is on top of all of these. But right now there's currently 2,994 integrations. That is not devices. That means all sorts of stuff. So each one of these companies and things have several devices inside. So there's thousands upon thousands of different things you can connect to this and control or use as controls or get information. I'm telling you, if you guys love technology, which I'm assuming you do since you watch my channel, this is the technology rabbit hole of all rabbit holes to jump down. It is amazing. So anyways, enough of that. I'm not here to sell Home Assistant, but I'm trying because you need to look at it. As a matter of fact, here you'll even see, yes, you can do 3D printer stuff. So this is getting from my Voron. It's using the Moonraker protocol or whatever that is to get the information. So it's very, very capable. Anyways, enough of that. How do we get this going on? Well, first thing I want to say, what happened? Why did I almost ditch this project? Well, the system on this here, all the chips and everything are beautiful. But the problem was I quickly found out in trying to get things set up that the OS, the operating system, it is running an Armbian system, but it is a very old version of it. It is not capable of running Home Assistant as it is. So I did more digging because of the fact this is Armbian. I'm like thinking, well, maybe I can figure out a way to build my own. This is the Armbian website here. I remembered that they have already the CB1. And so I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. Okay, they have CB1. Maybe they have it and I just didn't see it, you know, in the list. Well, no, it's not. I didn't find it anywhere. But long story short, I did find this person here, John the Cooling Fan. He took it upon himself to figure out how to get official mainline Armbian to run on the CB2 Pi2. The caveat is, unfortunately, you have to build the system. They don't have a pre-built thing. Now, what I was showing you over here with the Bigtreetech, you don't have to build this. These are pre-made images. You just download the image just like you would with the Bigtreetech website one, where you just download the image, install it on the SD card, and you're good to go. But there isn't one available yet for the Pi2, and I'm not sure what needs to be done for it to get that way, but it's not. So I got in, started thinking, okay, well, that's good. It's integrated, it's merged, it's now official. So let's build it. And this is where I ran into all the problems. And like I said, I'm not going to go into the details of every single thing, but basically none of this stuff worked because the systems that I had set up for whatever reasons didn't work. And then I found a perfectly working system. And basically what it is, it's using a virtual machine to run what they specify here, because this is the getting started. This is the instructions. Honestly, you only need these 4 lines of code to get it going. But what you have to do is install a virtual machine. So if you don't know what that is, it's virtual machine this is VirtualBox. It's basically, it's a little computer that runs inside your computer. And so you set that up with specifically, it needs to be Ubuntu 22.0.4 Jammy. This is the one that Armbian says you need to use to compile a new image. So you need to get this set up. I'm not going to go over how to set this up because this will make my video another 3 hours long or so with the way I do things. And you guys don't want that. You guys want to know how to get the Home Assistant, I'm sure. So what I'm going to do is point you to, if you don't know how to do that, I'm going to point you to this person here, because this guy here, this is the Helping Ninja, and he already has like a how to compile Armbian step-by-step for beginners. So, but in his video, he gets to the step, which is here, where you're actually selecting the kernel configuration. And so this, obviously, he's not going to show you the Bigtreetech stuff. Once you get your virtual machine running and all that stuff, you know, come back here and I'll show you the rest, okay? For all of you that know how to get virtual machine and how to get Ubuntu installed, let's get this going. So once you have Ubuntu up and running, like I said, with the Armbian build, it is a very simple setup, because all you have to do is make sure you have git installed, running that command. The next command is to clone the repository. That is this repository here. It's going to clone all these files. And then you go into your build folder, and then you run this script. And that's it. It gets you into being able to set things up. So I've already obviously downloaded that stuff. So here's the build folder. So this is where all of that Armbian new stuff is. And then, so what we do, we just open up a terminal into that folder, and we do the script of compile, right? So that simple, get that going. Of course, you do need your password. So it'll download all the stuff. You may see a different screen right off the bat, since I've already compiled everything. If you see this screen, you want to go to the second option here. But I believe this is the screen that automatically pops for the first time. And so as you can see here, if you scroll down, there's a CB1 and the CB2. Obviously, we're doing CB2 Pi2, just so you're aware. CB2, Pi2 are identical things. They're just different type of hardware. The Pi gives you all the extra USB plugs and all that stuff, whereas the CB2, you have to click it onto a board that has that. That's the only difference. Otherwise, the operating system is identical. So this is the one you want to check here. So pretty simple, hit enter. I did Edge. The difference between these two is Edge is the newest of the new. So Armbian is constantly getting upgraded, you know, with bug fixes or new little features, all these different things. But just to say, this is the one I used, but I think I should recommend the current instead, because it is designed, it's been checked, and that it's designed as a long-term. That's what the LTS kernel is for, long-term support. So it's designed basically, they've confirmed that it is a working good system. Edge has a possibility, depending on when it's downloaded, the possibility to download a bug from something new that they're trying out. So I used Edge and it works great. So it's up to you, but I recommend current. Anyways, enough of that. So you go into there. Now this is where the important part is, because Jammy is what is on, I believe, the current Bigtreetech version. You don't want that. You want Bookworm. It's got to be Debian 12 Bookworm. And that's the important one there. So use that. You hit enter there. And then we're going to use not the desktop one. We want to use the console version, because we don't need a desktop. If you by chance want to use this as a standard Linux computer, then you can go ahead and do it that way. But for Home Assistant, you don't want a desktop. So you run that. And then you want to run the standard image. Don't go with the minimal. I know minimal sounds nice because it's even less, but sometimes you might run into a problem where it's not enough libraries installed or something like that. So you're going to have to go through and find them and manually install things. So you might run into a lot of other little issues here and there. So stick with the standard. Once you hit that, it'll start building. It's that simple. So this part here, I'm just going to stop it because I already have it. I don't need to do that. But this part here It's going to run through and do everything automatically for you to build the image. This is not finished. Obviously, there's still more we need to do, but this is to give you the image file that we're going to install on the SD card. Keep in mind that this will take a very long time, especially depending on your computer system. If you have a slower computer, it can take hours, many hours. So let it be, let it do its thing. Even if at certain parts it looks like it's not doing anything, it's just waiting, let it be. Because if there's an actual error, it'll give you an error message and it'll like stop itself and tell you that it failed basically. Or the other option, which is the more likely option, you're going to get that it was succeeded. So those are two things that you'll get. If it's just hanging up and it's not doing anything for a long time, it's doing stuff in the background. There's a lot of files it needs to build and move around and do its thing. Okay, so be very patient. This part is going to take a long time. Once that is done, you will be given basically an output folder. So this output folder here is where they're going to put it, and it's going to put it into the images. And so you will be given the image, and it's this first one here that ends in .img. That is the image that we're going to use to install. So this is a similar file that you would have gotten from Bigtreetech, right? When you go into their releases, you download these. There's a .img. The XZ means that it's zipped to make it even smaller than it is, so you can easily download it. But it's the same kind of idea. But as you can see here, Debian 11 with the kernel 4.9, no good. Not for our installing more advanced stuff. But anyways, so let's go back over to there. So what you need to do is to get this off of the virtual machine here and onto your normal computer or wherever you're going to use to burn it onto an SD card. If you don't know how to do that, then the Ninja's video, whatever, Helping Ninja, he shows you how to do that also. So it's really great. Gives you the whole package of how to get that file over and all that good stuff. Okay. Even shows you a little bit about flashing. So this video is really helpful. I recommend him. If you do use his video by chance and it was helpful, definitely drop him a comment. You don't have to tell him that I sent you here, but he has no clue I'm recommending him. But give him a kudos, give him a thumbs up and all that stuff, because he was cool to do this video and it was very informative, very precise and to the point. So let's get back over. So once you get this downloaded onto your computer, then we're going to be using, well, you can use whatever you want, but I recommend using the Raspberry Pi Imager. It just seems to work easiest and best. Balena Etcher is another one that works really good, but sometimes it looks like it's not doing things even though it actually is, so it confuses people. This one, Raspberry Pi, is designed to be very user-friendly. So in order to get it installed on here, what you need to do is choose your device. And of course, we're not using a Raspberry Pi, so you want to set to no filtering because we don't want anything special set up. And then you come into the operating system and scroll all the way down to use custom. And then you want to select, of course, the image that we just built. So wherever you put that, you go to that folder and you select that. And then, of course, choose a storage. And if you have multiple storage devices plugged in and you're not sure which one, just unplug all your storage devices and leave only the one that you want to burn to, or, you know, make sure you're only selecting the one because it will format the drive. You don't want to lose stuff. So just be aware of that. So we check that, we hit next. If you get anything about this using customization settings and stuff, say no, don't do it because this is Raspberry Pi specific stuff. You don't want to do that. So hit no. And then it's just letting you know that's going to erase everything. Are you sure you want to do it? Of course we do. So this part is going, again, to take some time depending on your system. It's going to write the image to the SD card. So while it's doing that, why don't we check out today's video sponsor, PCBWay, and we'll be right back. If you're someone who loves tinkering, designing, and creating, you'll definitely want to check out PCBWay. PCBWay isn't just about PCB manufacturing. They've got a wide range of services to cater to creators just like you. From crafting intricate prototypes using many forms of 3D printing to precision machine parts through CNC machining and so much more, PCBWay has got you covered. A really nice part is their online quoting system. It lets you see the cost estimates for the services you need, allowing you to plan your projects without any surprises. As for quality, PCBWay takes it seriously across all their services and do their best to ensure all your designs will meet the highest standards. Beyond services, PCBWay offers a supportive community. Their forums and dedicated support team are there to help you to navigate through your creative journey. If you're intrigued and want to know more about PCBWay services and how it can benefit your projects, check out the link in the description. I want to give a big thanks to PCBWay for sponsoring this video, and now let's get back to the video. Okay, welcome back. So now that that is done, you will obviously see that it lets you know that it was finished and that you can remove the SD card now. So we'll go ahead and get that out of here. And then the next step is pretty much all specific for setting up this this Pi2. Okay, so now that you got your image on your SD card, go ahead and put it in here. Also make sure that both of these switches, there's a on switch here and over here. Make sure that both of them are not on the on position. They're both are facing towards the USB ports, okay? Also make sure you have a good power supply. I'm using the 24 volt input here. So you do need a power supply that's able to give it at least bare minimum 2 amps of available current. It's probably not going to use all that, but you do need to have a good support. So don't power it with 5 volts through the pins, and also don't power it off of like a phone charger or a off your computer through the USB port. You know, get a proper, if you use USB, get a proper like Raspberry Pi plug or something to properly supply power to that, okay? These are a computer, you don't want to shortchange them with voltage and power. Anyways, enough of that. So we have 2 methods that we are going to get into the system to get it all set up, because we don't have the folder like what Bigtreetech makes where you can put in your Wi-Fi and password and stuff like that and just plug it in and get going. So we have to set it all up from scratch. And the option we're going to be using, I'm going to be plugging into Ethernet. As a matter of fact, I'll just go ahead and plug that in now. So I have an Ethernet that's plugged into my router. But the other option, you can actually use the HDMI micro. They sell, if you don't have the cord, they sell adapters, right? So you can have HDMI screen and a keyboard plugged into it that way too. So it's up to you what you have available. I feel it's easiest through this. We're going to use SSH on, I'm just going to use command prompt, or you can use whatever you use, like PuTTY or whatever, to SSH in. So I'll show you that now, okay? I just want to point that out because those are the 2 options. So let's get it powered on. And when it's powering up, when it first boots up, you'll see that you get a little blue light there, and then these lights. These lights will always light up regardless if it's connected or not. So just be aware of that. That's letting you know that things are booting. And then once you see the blue light go away and you got a flashing green light, that's a good sign. That's the heartbeat. That's telling you that the operating system is functional. Things are working. If it never starts blinking, or if it's solid or very dim, then something went wrong. It didn't flash the operating system properly. You should try it again, okay? So enough of that. Let's get into the system. Let's go back over to the computer here. Like I said, I'm going to be using a command prompt just to do that. Command prompt. You can use whatever you want to do it, but this is just one way of showing you. So let's make this bigger for you. Hopefully I made it nice and big so you can see. Okay. So in command prompt, it's really easy to get in. All you have to do is type in SSH and then space. And then with the default setup on Armbian, they use root. This is the root user. And then you use the @ symbol, and then you give it the IP address. So you have to look at your network and see what the IP address is that it gained. If you're using a keyboard, you don't have to do this part, because keyboard and screen, you should see the next screen that will come up here. But let's see, I believe if I looked correctly, let's see, let's get this on 192.168.86.35, I think it said. If you remember that correctly, yep. So if you get this message, just go ahead and type yes. And then put in the root password. Now, default root password to start with is just going to be 1234. And don't worry about that being such a generic thing, because the next step is where we start. And this is where, if you have a screen and keyboard setup, which you probably should already see. And this is where it's going to start, as in the very first thing, you have to create a root password to continue. So you make yourself secure. So make a good password. I'm going to do this one. Okay, then the next step, it wants to know what kind of shell system do you want to use, shell commands. I recommend using one, which is the bash. The ZSH is good too, it works fine. But the reason why I recommend bash is because if you ever go through tutorials and stuff, it's more common, at least from what I've seen, for people to use bash scripting instead of the others. So it just makes it easier to follow along. The next thing you want to do is to provide a username. This is going to be a username if you want to use it for other things. You need to provide some sort of username, because it's not recommended to use root constantly. It's not that important with this setup, because we're not going to be diving that deep into this stuff, but set up a username. It could be whatever you want it to name it. And then you need to make a password. Okay. And then it wants you to know a real name. Again, it's whatever you want it to be. I just hit enter. And it's going to go through and set up stuff for our location. What it's doing is it's searching to see what our network says where we are. And so it wants to know if I want to use the language. If you're using, in your area, you want to use your language, you can type yes, but I don't want it to be in Norwegian. So I'm going to say no. I want to leave it in English. And so for English, if you look at the list, you can find your other language if you want to do a different language than what it found. See if I remember, 99, yeah. So type in 99. And then it wants to know the country stuff. So I still want the right time zone and all that good stuff. So I'm going to leave it where I'm at. So Europe and Norway. And it's asking, is this correct? Yes. Number 1. And now it's going to go through and set up all of the locale stuff. So language, files, all that good stuff. So it can take a little bit to get this going. Okay, so now we are in and we officially have set everything up. And as you can see, it does say unofficial here, Armbian unofficial. And basically it's because it's a custom image, because we built it our own. It's not an image direct from Armbian. And so that's why it's set up like this. It's not that it's some sort of weird hack together thing or anything like that, but it's just it's a DIY system, as it says here. Support is DIY, it's custom image. So don't let that throw you off or anything. But it's the Debian stable. It's all the legit newest thing. So no worries there. Don't worry about that. So a couple things we need to do now before we install Home Assistant. The first thing first is we want to get this operating system off of the SD card, because we want to utilize that onboard eMMC storage. It's a lot faster than a memory card. So let's do that. So very easy command. It's NAND, N-A-N-D, dash, and then SATA dash install. And this will allow us to transfer everything. Basically, it clones the system over to the SSD, the eMMC. So option number 2, that's what we want to do. We want to be able to boot from the eMMC. So number 2, hit enter. It's letting you know that it's going to erase everything. Yes, that's fine. That's what we want. Get it on. And the file system we want to use is the number 1. It's the ext4. All right. Once you do that, it's going to start doing its thing. It's going to format and move everything over. So it could take a little while, and let it do its thing, and we'll be right back. Okay, so once you see this message that symbolizes that apparently everything has gone good, it should have. So you do need to power off. And then once you power off, you remove your SD card. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit enter, and it should disconnect, which it did. And then if we switch over here, you will see that it stopped blinking and it went to this blue light. This means that it is powered down, like not in sleep mode, but you know how your normal PC, you have a power button. This actually does have a power button. So you don't even have to take away the power. If you see that blue, you're good to go. So remove the SD card now. And we no longer need that. Put that in safe space for using something else somewhere later, because now everything's living on here on the eMMC. So like I mentioned, like a normal PC, you do have a power button, which I thought was another cool integration on here. So this little button actually will send the power down command and start back up. So you can go ahead and just click that, and it should give it a second here. It'll start flashing to stating that it's now running. There we go. We got our heartbeat. So that's the startup. Relatively quick startup now. You'll be surprised on how much faster that this little chip is. And as you can see, of course, there's no SD card. If for some reason it didn't power back up, go ahead and remove the power and then give it power again. Sometimes it may not, I don't know. I haven't ran into that problem, but maybe it won't. But just go ahead and unpower and power on. But once you see that light, you're good. So now we can come back to the computer, because we need to now get back in and install Home Assistant, right? So let's do again the SSH, get back into our system. The new password, obviously, that we used. So we're still using root. There we go. So now we're back in. All right. And like I said, it is running on the internal storage now. It's 29 gigs available, but obviously 32 gigs. You never get it all. But we're all good. So the next thing we need to do is the simple stuff. I do want to point out one thing. I'm using the LAN plug, right? So I'm not on wireless. If you want to use wireless, you can, but it is highly not recommended with Home Assistant. The Wi-Fi slows things down, so you can basically get little delays, lags, and stuff like that in Home Assistant for sensors and stuff like that. So you don't want to be laggy. But if you cannot use your Ethernet cable, if you don't have a way of plugging in locally where you want to have your machine, then you can use Wi-Fi. And to set that up is in this RMB and config. So we'll go ahead and do that. I'll just show you where it is. This is also what we're going to be using for setting up Home Assistant. Okay, so it should take a couple seconds. Don't worry, it looks like it's kind of like freezing, but it just takes seconds, a little while to download everything, get everything integrated. But anyways, so first things first, since I mentioned the Wi-Fi, if you must use Wi-Fi, you come here to network and then configuration and then add and change interface. And then it's the second option here. This is where you would set up. I'm not going to go in there because I don't want to change it from my Ethernet connection because I'm not going to use Wi-Fi. But this is where you would set up Wi-Fi if you needed to. And basically when you go to the next page, it'll walk you through. It's very easy to use. It just shows you, what Wi-Fi points are available, and then you select yours that you want to use and put in the password and connect. Okay. So that's what that's all about. But like I said, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to change it, and I don't recommend it if you're going to be using Home Assistant. Only if you must. Let's just escape to go back. And here. And this actually was an accidental surprise for me because I was just browsing through here. I was going to install Home Assistant manually, like it says that you should do with Linux systems. But then as I was going through here, I was just kind of perusing around, seeing what was available in the new system. And I noticed they had a home automation thing. Now I know that they've had like what they call this one here, open HAB, it's open home. And this is another home automation type system, kind of similar to Home Assistant, but I think I've never used it, but from what I've read, Home Assistant is way better. But it's up to you. But I did find that Home Assistant had an install in here, which made everything dramatically easy because you bring it here, you hit enter, and you wait because it's going to go through and install everything that you need. You don't have to do anything more until it's done installing and you want to set up Home Assistant in the user interface. It is really that simple. So like I've said, it's not a hard system anymore to set up with all these things that I found. It's just very time consuming. And this has probably been one of the easiest installs. I mean, these things, people are writing these scripts, they're getting easier and easier to install. So it's really great. So anyways, I'm not going to have you sit through and watch this complete package install because it can take a long time to get everything installed. It's downloading and installing and setting up and blah, blah, blah. So let it do its thing. You will get a note at the end and we'll be back when that happens. Okay, so once you get to this screen, then everything has been installed and available, or has been made available. And so as you can see here, it's giving you the IP address that it found for your device, and then it appends it with this port of 8123. So that's an important number to remember. 8123 is the port to get into the user interface. So that's basically it there. You can just hit OK. We're good. And then that's it. We can just escape out of here. So just get out all the way back. And there we go. So as you can see, it's all set up and it is again telling you the IP address and where to go. Now, there is one little bit of information that I think can be helpful for the future is if you notice it says that you can use this. Well, this specifically will not work right now. And the reason why is because the computer is currently called Bigtreetech CB2. And that's the host's name. So that's typically if you were to use a pre-made like the image for Raspberry Pi, it automatically comes called Home Assistant. But since this one is Bigtreetech, you need to change that if you want to use this. And I do recommend doing this. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Let's get here, make sure I'm in there. Okay. So to change the host name, what you need to do is a simple command. Since we're in root, we do not need to use sudo. So just keep that in mind. If you're not in root for some reason, then you would have to type in sudo first, like this, right? Sudo space. But we're in root, we're a root user, we don't need to do that. So the command is hostname, hostname, and then CTL. And then it's the command in that, you do space, and then command is set-hostname. And then the last part is you want to give it the host name. So we want to use Home Assistant. And I'll explain why this is important. So we just paste that into there or type it out. That's what we want to make sure. So that's the command. I am not going to press enter right now because I have my other system running right now and I don't want to confuse my network and give two computers named host name. But that's how you do it. So once you press enter, it'll automatically change this to Home Assistant once you reboot. So after you've done that, go ahead and reboot your system, and then it should now say, once you log back in, it'll be root at Home Assistant, and we're good to go. So like I said, I'm not going to hit enter on that because we don't need to, but we're done with all this part here. Actually, there was one more thing. If you want to use Bluetooth as part of your entity discovery or whatever, you want to connect through Bluetooth because you can do all sorts of stuff with that. It's recommended. Here's another command to get Bluetooth running because it's not automatically on to begin with. It's missing a thing. So it's Bluetooth CTL is the command. I don't think that's going to work. It's probably not installed yet. Yeah, it's not installed. So what you need to do is run this here. apt install BlueZ. And that's the program that allows it to connect to Bluetooth networks and search. So just go ahead and hit enter. You hit Y for yes, because we do want to install it. Okay, once it's on here, you can go ahead and run that Bluetooth CTL again, just to make sure it boots up. It's been registered, so everything's good. Okay, so we are good there. Here, when it's running Bluetooth, it's going to start searching for things, but at the moment, don't worry about that. You can just go ahead and exit out, EXIT. And now we're back. So that was just to get it up and running, make sure that it's pairable, and yes, it is. Everything's good. So the controller is active. Anyways, so now that we have all that set up, now we can actually get in and set up our Home Assistant new thing. So the way to do that, it's pretty easy to do. Just come into your browser and put in the host name, the IP address, and then the :8123, and you should be greeted with this here. If not, check to make sure that you don't have the HTTPS, because it's not a secured site. It's a private network thing. So you can type it out, the HTTP and then : / don't include the S on there. That can sometimes cause this to not get picked up. So just so you're aware of that. But it should be just like that. And then the onboarding, that's the default start. But if you want, you can put the whole thing. Okay. Anyway, so now we want to start it. We go ahead and start it, and then we start making our information here. Okay. Create account. And then you want to put in your address and stuff. And the reason why, like I said, it is private. Don't worry about that. But the reason why you want to do that, so you get your localized weather reports and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's up to you how direct or how exact you want it to be. But again, it is private. So, you know, just do your thing. I'm just going to leave it the way it is at the moment. No big deal. So I get a blank system, so you can see how it is without any type of special stuff added. But if you do put your address, you should get some kind of localization stuff added automatically. It cannot happen, depends. But Norway we are in. Okay, why is it not finding it? There we go. Next, and so like I said, privacy is on there. You know, they really do pride themselves on keeping things private, so nothing is automatically turned on. But it asks you if you want to try to do it. No, we're not going to do it right now. It's up to you if you want to. And it already lets you know that it has found certain things. So depending on your network, what you have already plugged in and talking to your home network, it'll find stuff. So this one here is the my radio. I've got my Android TV, Bluetooth, of course, because my system has Bluetooth. ESP Home, because I have that installed and working on some other things like my kid's clock, and all that different stuff. So whatever it finds, it tries to automatically set up. And that's what's really cool about the system, is that it automatically starts integrating things without you even having to do it. And you'll get these notifications letting you know, it's like, hey, we found stuff. Do you want to add them? It doesn't always add it automatically. It'll let you know if, you know, maybe you do, maybe you don't want to add it. So you can. So, you know, I want to add the radio. Sure, submit. Sometimes you need to add special codes, like with the ESP home stuff. They have special like API codes, so you're not able to just randomly connect to these things from anywhere. So you do have to put those in. But other devices that are on your network, they can just connect them immediately. The area, that's up to you if you want to do this stuff, but I'm not going to go deep into about how Home Assistant works with this stuff type of stuff. It's up to you to really do the research and find out how you want to set it up. It's all personalized. But like you can see here, you can say where this is located. So it's in the kitchen. I'm just going to say that, and so on. All right, so that's how you would add something. My printer, I want to add a printer. Okay, fine. Put it in there. I don't have Office, but whatever. I can add a new area, but I'll just leave it blank for now. So now I have those things involved there. And as you can see, I can come over to my overview. This is the dashboard. And so you can see I have the printer, my HP printer. I don't use HP ink, so it's always going to show me 0. But if you had official ink, it'll show you the level. And which is cool because you can set up an automation. Say when you get low on ink, it'll tell you, send you a message on your phone or something like that. But yeah, that's how you set it all up. And really, once you get to this point, you're good to go. This is where you're going to have to run through the dive down into the rabbit hole and figure out all the stuff to do. Easy breakdown, you come into device and services. This is where you add your integrations if you want to add more stuff. Oh, and the reason why I pointed out, speaking of integrations, the reason why I pointed out setting up the Home Assistant host's name. Let's find something, let's see, like 3D printing, for instance, Octoprint. So you can see if you have a Prusa printer or a Dremel printer, interesting. If you had these printers, or if you have Octoprint running on something, you can connect to. But what I'm talking about is these add integration tabs. A lot of these other places where you start looking for integration, seeing what you can do, you'll find this tab here. And this is to automatically set, to install that integration onto your Home Assistant. And normally what it is, the default will say the Home Assistant here. So it'll be that original Home Assistant thing, like what it showed. Let's go back over here. What it showed here. That's the default. That's normally what you see, especially in tutorials, you'll see this. So it's up to you how you want to use that. But as default, so when you guys go on it, it won't have the IP address here. It'll say that Home Assistant local. If you don't want to use that, you want to use the IP anyways, this is where you would change it. All right, so let's just go back real quick. So this is where it would normally come up. You hit open link and it goes. But if it's the wrong IP, click there, change it, update, and it should save it in your browser. Like it says here, it's stored in your browser. So you're good to go there. So next time it should automatically have that. And then you just open the link and it'll direct you to installing it onto your system. There we go. And here it is saying you want to add it, say okay, and then you start doing your stuff. This is, for Octoprint specific, but it'll walk you through. So most of the time when you add integrations, it's really easy to do. Anyways, enough of that. Like I said, this is not a tutorial on how to use Home Assistant because there's so much to do. It'll take days upon days, but I recommend it. All right, so yeah, that's how to install Home Assistant on the Bigtreetech Pi2. Something that I had originally thought I could do, then found out probably not, and then luckily found out yes we can, and there you go. So anyways, I want to give another huge thank you to John the Cooling Fan that took the time to make that Armbian image work for the Bigtreetech Pi. It really opens up a lot of fun new stuff for us. So even if you don't want to do a Home Assistant, but you want to do other things, running Docker containers or using it for a robotics project, whatever it is, now official new Armbian with Debian 12 and all that good stuff is running. And it works beautifully. I have not found a single issue yet, so that's a good sign. I've been running actually my Home Assistant on the Pi3, the Pi2 here, for about 3 weeks or so. So I haven't run into a single problem. Everything works, and I've been trying all sorts of weird random stuff. So it's a good sign. So that's that. Another big thank you to PCBWay for sponsoring the channel. If you guys are interested in doing PCB stuff, really good stuff. If you're getting into the home automation stuff, maybe you can make your own little sensors and things like that and get it printed out or get the PCBs made for you, and they'll do everything. If you want to have it solderable, you can solder on your own components, or you can have them pre-made for you. So lots of cool stuff there. Really cool people. Or if you need to 3D print something in metal or in resin, you don't want to mess with those machines or don't have the capability of that, they'll do that for you too. So lots of options. Check them out. There is actually I believe you get a $5 towards your first purchase if you use my link down in the description. It's really helpful. Lets them know that you guys are interested. So check it out. And then of course, a huge thank you to all of you. Thank you for sticking around. Hopefully this stuff is helpful for you. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to drop them in the comments. If you get stuck in certain areas, I can try to help you out as best as I can. Anybody else, if you guys see the comments and you have an answer or you think you do, definitely jump in, join the conversation. The more the merrier, okay? So anyways, enough of that. I'm going to let this video be finished now. So hopefully you guys got it all and you are running Home Assistant. Have fun. Believe me, just keep researching the Home Assistant stuff. It's amazing what you can do. Anyways, enough of that. Thank you again for watching. And until next time, get out there and make something. Have a good one.